I should be recording and streaming. I just got to get confirmation on my channel that it's going to start.
Okay.
So I'm hosting somebody right now and it's not going away.
Mm-hmm.
So it's gonna be
There we go.
Gree's morning, and then when was Sassen gonna be chatting with Gree? Was that gonna be after the meeting, command meeting?
Yeah,
Like Grey did nothing the first day. We're on the second day. It wouldn't surprise me if she basically finished in almost in the afternoon.
well, let's see. So we joined forces, got to Suliana. I would imagine Sasson would have talked more with Gree on the day that they spent kind of, well, Sasson spent it like getting a makeover or whatnot and going to the black market. And by the end of that day, she would have met up with Gree again and set her on the path of, set up your little nest in the glaive. She would have also given her marching orders about a couple of objectives, one of them being very, very highly classified. So it would have been a conversation that she would have grabbed Gree on the surface of Suliana and like taken a walk and said, do you want me to RP this, Zerg, or you just want to say this for backstory?
Oh, how much time we got? Guns?
All day, like 8 hours.
Sure.
Okay. Go over to main view. So we are live. And I am Assassin. Okay.
So while the events of last session 11, were going on, one Gree is on the surface of Suliana in between various jobs. It
I'm
is
happy to do sort of frame himself for the first day and Neth's second day.
God damn it.
What is it?
Cozy.
Oh yeah, the lot. It's still there. I thought it would be gone by now.
He keeps putting them on.
All right.
It's like, what is going? Oh, right.
So I think daggers would be back on this ship, and I would be. Yep. So nearing the end of the first day.
Yep. Evening.
Okay. So if Gree is working on Zifix on the ship or outside of the ship or whatever, Sasson would go find her. And
if we do have a kit and I hadn't been gotten other pressing orders, I would have been okay with that.
Okay. And
That's are we talking about an actual roll to do an upgrade, or are we talking just simply cosmetic or preparing?
Did you guys have a kit available from last time? I don't.
No. So Ian and Daggers and Mordon got a couple of kits, but that would be after the conversation that I'm about to have.
Exactly.
Okay, then yeah, I'll just probably you guys need to start thinking of a color scheme for this guy. So maybe Gree is sketching out various.
I like it.
Like an emblem for their company. Does that seem a little bit in line with what she might do in her spare time?
Like if Zifix was really pushing it, she might give it consideration. Otherwise, she would be like, standard Imperial Grey, excellent color.
Sasson would so approve of that.
Disapproving basilisk noises.
And again, like
nondescript business
that could be a thing. Like they could talk about the color scheme, and Zifix could give their opinion. Like as long as it's not blindingly like red or orange that could give them away when trying to sneak about, she probably wouldn't have an
something
issue.
they're workshopping probably on their downtime then.
But yeah,
So-
like it wouldn't surprise me. Agrees, like maybe just having the first day off, she can actually recall. Maybe she spent half the day actually just unconscious and asleep, catching up on all the sleep she couldn't get before.
Mhm.
Anyway, so let's say she catches up on quite a lot of sleep, then goes down and checks on Zifix, and then we have Lady Sashin.
Okay. So Sasson would walk up and try not to startle. And Lieutenant Gree, Lieutenant Hawkins, I speak with you.
Of course, my lady.
How has the downtime been treating you?
I admit the first part of the day has been me catching up on some rest. We've had quite a few busy weeks prior.
Sasson's nodding vigorously in agreement. And, well, I hate to put you back to work so quickly, but of course, the Empire's work is never done. So I
Green nods
figured
vigorously in turn.
I figured that given the difficulties that we had integrating the crew prior to meeting up with the Glaive, I am very suspicious that we're going to have the same types of issues integrating our new combined crew with the Glaive itself. I plan to attend a meeting shortly with your colleague, Pern Keffin.
Oh,
And Pern Caffey.
I believe you had it right the first time, my lady.
It's Caffey.
It's Caffey.
Damn it.
The subject of this meeting is going to be this integration, and I was just hoping to get your input on what sort of man Pern is, and whether or not I should consider him for the command of the Glaive.
Well, at the sense of being somewhat immodest, he actually came from the same schooling and classing that I did. He seems to continue to be loyal, and I do believe he'll be an asset in whatever role he's placed in. I admit his particular class was more towards the commanding type as opposed to the computer analysis classes that I did, but we all endeavored to do our part.
Gree, a shiver runs down your spine as you remember that out of the starting number of your class, you and Pern were perhaps a 10th that had actually made it back out into the society at large. You still don't know what happened to the rest of them.
And I'll provide more backstory for that later.
Very good. So, on a more personal note,
My lady?
Is he a trustworthy person? Is he a secretive person? Do you know any of his personal qualities?
Only a few, but I will admit anyone that made it through our particular training efforts will, by nature, be able to be quite secretive, but I believe his leadership type training would have him open to discussions and whatnot. As long as one can provide their case and provide good evidence for it, they would have no reason to be against it.
Good. Well, this is what I wanted to hear. I thank you for your counsel on that matter. Now let's move on a little bit. I would like to ask you, once this mission is hopefully completed with all our souls intact. And she looks down, laughing, but still, it's a bleak look. Like she expects a lot of people to die. But then she
Grease
looks back up.
somberly nods in agreement.
Yeah. Then she looks back up and says, "What are your ambitions in the Empire?"
My lady, like we have been trained to serve. I presume I will be endeavoring to do that to the best of my capability until the final day.
I'm going to take a risk here, Lieutenant, and I'm going to tell you something that may or may not surprise you. My ambitions are not 100% aligned with the Emperor's. Can you keep a secret for me?
Of course, my lady.
Can I roll a check to see if she's being truthful?
Gree, are you being truthful?
Grease being truthful.
Okay.
Like she'll feel like odd if it's like I plan to destroy the entire empire. Like as long as it's pro-empire action, she's gonna be fine with it.
Gotcha.
Even if it's not like I plan to like educate people. Oh no, what a terrible thing to do. But yeah, no, if she thinks it's genuinely, oh, this will benefit the empire, yeah, she's aboard.
She says, again, my ambitions are great, and I have come to trust you almost implicitly. This is the upper echelon now. We are dealing directly with a Dark Council member. I am going to ask you if you can isolate who among the crew might be his spies. And if your loyalty allows you to do so, tell me of their reports to him, and we may rise together to change the Empire for the better. If you would like to know more about my vision, you're welcome to ask.
And in turn I shall. Do you wish to speak here or elsewhere?
We are kind of walking the streets of Suliana, and anonymity in the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that hopefully we should be able to be clandestine.
In short, if Lady Session goes like we're fine here, like Gree will just nod.
Would you like to make an unskilled sense roll?
Sure.
Pavali watching from the ceiling.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's exactly why. That is exactly why I'm asking.
So it's going to be your discipline, your force rating, and
it's terrible.
Let's say because you're going along the streets, you're walking inside of a crowd in one of the marketplaces, right? And you're searching for someone that is looking. Are you searching for someone that's looking for you, or looking at you, or like seeking hostile intent towards you?
Surveillance. So I'd be looking for tails. I'd be looking for cameras. I'd be looking for eyes.
Looking for eyes that are
people looking at us.
I mean, I would prefer to make it as vigilance, even though that's still terrible for me, because discipline. Well, they're both basically the same, but I get a lot of boosts for vigilance.
The way that I'm doing unskilled sense rolls will always use discipline, unfortunately.
Okay.
Unskilled force.
Can I have Mr. Daggers be with us and give me some boost?
Unfortunately, as well, I don't think Mr. Daggers is gonna.
Okay.
If you had Mr. Daggers, you're not gonna be in a crowd. Let's just say that. So
point taken. Okay.
Let's make it. This is probably one of the only times that you've attempted to use this particular force power, but you were not foreign to the idea of someone watching you, someone plotting against you. So no reds, but let's just make this a 3 purple check with discipline and force rating.
I'm gonna usually fail this, but let's see here.
And if you've... Ooh.
It's not as bad as it could have been.
So how would you like to allocate dark side points?
I don't think. Okay. So can I use strain to convert 2 of them into successes?
Yes.
I take 4 strain and convert them into success.
And
Using light side points?
There are no light side points.
Yeah, that's
well, actually,
fine. I thought you used dark pips.
I think we worked it out that it wouldn't work like that because that'd be I would be OP. That being a dark side user and actually using dark side pips without having to flip the destiny point in raw, like how it's written in raw, that's too much because there's more dark side pips per force die than there are light side.
Okay.
yeah.
So I was okay with maintaining the same coloration even for a dark side user. It's just the allowance for assassin was to be able to use heal at all and heal harm. Because if I'm a dark side user, I wouldn't be able to use heal per raw.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so going in line with the same explanation narratively for dark side versus light side, it's more force is tumultuous, it's either working for you or it's against you. That's not necessarily light or dark.
Fair enough. Force
That
ain't
was
doing
officially on record. So you got 2 successes for a net of 1 success, 1 threat. I'm just going to move your guys' tokens down to, let's say, down to your represent. Yeah, you're walking along. So,
yeah,
no one's watching you with
okay.
any particular intent. You are an oddity, surely, as a Sith pureblood among a planet of mostly humans. Aside from that, there's no ill will or other interesting eyes being cast your way. You're fairly confident about that, at least, with that 1 threat.
Okay. So she says, to repeat the last statement, please ask me if you wish what my plans are. If you
Very
even want to
well.
know.
Very well, late session. What are your plans?
Well, ever since I was granted an apprenticeship within the logistics sphere, I've seen firsthand how the Empire treats its subjects and its citizens. And I must say that I am very disheartened with its abuses and waste, particularly when it comes to slavery. I served under Omis Denis, my former master, for a number of years, watching the Empire discard its slaves and even workers who suffered through nothing more than a broken leg or an injured eye, and watch them be executed.
Grief flinches at that, more than you expect.
I cannot abide that type of wastefulness, and though I do not believe in the egalitarian mindset of the Republic, I certainly would like to rise in power to change the empire such that it values its citizenry and its subjects more than just as disposable tools. And, well, I could go into much more detail, but not in an open place like this. But suffice it to say, I find myself closer now than ever before to realizing the amount of power I would need to begin this type of change within the empire. I, again, value your companionship as well as your work ethic and your talent very highly. I don't think I've ever met anyone quite so valuable. So thank you for letting me share with you, and I hope to keep working with you and hopefully take you with me on this journey that I'm attempting. She looks hopefully over at Gray.
Gree will smile back and sincerely, and then states,
If you're seeking to help the people of the Empire, I can think of few nobler goals than that. To make sure that people are helped and looked after is something that I hold dear to my heart. It was a lack of such things that led me from my old place to the Empire.
Mm. You get the sense that Sasson wants to ask about it, but she's not going to do it verbally. She's more quizzically looking.
Just thinking if Gree would avail this story or not.
Yeah.
Depends how much.
Yeah.
I think Gree would give, because you've given such olive branch of trust to her, that she'll do similar in turn.
Confessing, you everybody that's listening to me right now probably knows this, but I'll just say it for the stream officially. What Sasson has just done in telling all this to a very high-ranking intelligence officer is a huge risk. Huge risk.
See, I actually wasn't born in an imperial world. I was actually born to a caring mother and father, and we were actually on a republic world. That said, the corruption in the republic is rampant. The Empire at least sees people as useful tools in the worst circumstances. The Republic sees them even less, in my experience. There's very few things that those in high authority will do to their utmost to make sure that they don't have to do anything useful or productive or anything of greatness in their lives. And you can
see Gree is maybe tapping into sort of feelings of aggravation, annoyance, and hate that, well, if the Force was kind to her, maybe she would almost make a good Sith. But regardless of
that. Sasson is very pleased. But outwardly conciliatory.
Mm-hmm.
To make a longer story short, once the Republic representatives decided that his best course of action would be to literally abandon the planet and leave it for the rioting that had occurred, my mother and my father, and to an extent myself, though I admit I was rather young at the time, so it was indeed more my parents, we made efforts to rally people, turn things around, and expunge the Republic sympathizers in our base. And when the Empire came, we welcomed them with open arms. at least they cared.
It hardens me to hear your story, but I think that such a story is all too common.
In the Republic, it certainly is. No wonder they're losing.
Well, this is good. This is a good beginning. Let's agree to keep this between the two of us for now. And
Indeed, in turn, I would ask you to not share my past with others unless absolutely necessary, but I can't perceive a point where that will occur.
you have my word. The next step in our deployment here, I think, would be to enact the spying operation that I had told you about just a few moments ago.
Mm-hmm.
And other than that, the highest priority is going to be locating and tracking both the Ember and the remainder of these crystals that we seem to have found. That would hopefully enable us to damage the Ember through its shields. I believe that the former mercenary Mordon who we've now conscripted, may have more information, but seemed unable to give me more information personally. And then beyond that, I think that our organizational structure is going to be a bit tricky. So I asked you about Lieutenant Commander Perna.
Okay.
And I believe the best course of action would be to put him in command of the glaive. You would be reporting directly to me alongside him. And so I believe the best place for you would be also on the glaive to maintain the widest intelligence network.
Mm-hmm.
As such, the amount of work ahead of you to replicate your listening station on the tier, I apologize, but it may be necessary to replicate that on the glaive as well.
I say that can be achieved, but I would require likely at least a day.
Understood.
And obviously, during that time, probably be best if I'm not interrupted unless it is for a genuine emergency. But it could be done.
You shall be given at least a day. I think I can handle the crew for a day.
I have no
That
doubt.
being that being said, the other half of the crew assignment is the tricky one. I think that I had a couple of options. One being integrating some of the Republic crew in with our Imperial crew on the glaive. I think that could work eventually, but I'm more leaning towards having the Republic crew remain aboard the tier with their familiar Imperial counterparts remaining on board as well to preserve that working unit alongside of our newly acquired crew of the glaive. So
Indeed, that might be best. I feel that the crew of the glaive will need time to see our joint forces in action and witness for themselves and slowly warm up to the idea. I think thrusting them into it might be ill met.
We are of a like mind. That's basically it. And at this point, you see you've walked a giant circle, and we're now approaching the landing pad again. I think we've covered just about everything. And do you have anything on your mind besides what we've already talked about?
I think that's quite a quantity to have my mind to absorb during the time going ahead. By your leave, my lady, I will start making preparations to replicate the sensor array.
Very good, Lieutenant. And don't be surprised if in a couple of days you are summoned to a large gathering aboard the Glaive. I assure you it's a positive thing.
Should I make certain preparations?
Have your dress uniform ready. She smiles.
Certainly.
And with that, they separate.
Cool.
Like all my stuff, I presume you wouldn't want me to roleplay, but it'll be stuff of like organizing equipment to again.
That's
basically do this one
incidental.
mode.
I don't want to. I don't want to
Exactly.
cry seeing Gree's mechanics and knowledge rolls just yet.
Oh. It's less that and more. Quartermaster, I need everything. What? Everything.
Everything.
Nobody else has ever needed this shit. Well, I do. So that would be this conversation is happening the evening of day 1. So
But yeah, so day 2, Gree will.
everyone is
in essence,
turning
be
in for the
occupied.
night. Everyone's turning in for the night, and Gree, you sleep soundly with a sound conscience.
Ooh.
Of course, I'm right.
Like the only one of us to sleep soundly.
So I'll say that because this is a 0.5 session, we can use the Destiny pool from before, not having to re-roll or clear anything.
Sure.
So if you want to sync to what it is currently.
Yep, sure. Give me a moment. Sync pool. There we go. I have sunk.
Right then. So as the day goes on, Gree, you're working on the tier, and then the call for to help go with Sassen back up to the tier to go take care of boring organizational duties.
The Glaive.
The Glaive, yes. Zifix is staying behind. You're going up with a couple other members of the tier's chain of command, Lady Sassen, Drag, and a few others. Boop.
And Jethor.
And Jethor, surprisingly. He's keeping to himself, enjoying the ride. You don't know exactly why he's here, but he's here. Sassen, would you be giving Gaga eyes over towards Jethor?
Or no, not in front of everyone. No.
Okay,
no,
just making sure.
Yeah.
Just making sure. So, land in the landing bay without further ado, and I am going to shift on over to Situation Room without all these people, except for Pern. Is Pern would like to, at some point, you two bump into each other while you're going through, go to the token layer. So, Gree, if you can drag yourself on to here.
It can be done.
Oh, that's right. I made people bigger for this one. Second. So, running around doing your Queen Bee impersonation, directing technicians there, telling regulars to fuck off and don't touch that, please. I'm sorry. No, wait. I outrank you now. I can say whatever the hell I want. Or whatever Gree actually would say to those individuals that are getting in the way. Pern would come over and say, "Ah, Gree. I mean, Lieutenant Commander."
Pern, it's a pleasure.
Likewise, I see that you've begun to sabotage our intelligence department.
Integrate, yes.
He smiles. And you see actually in his hands that he has 2 cups of calf. It's a bit later in the day, but something warm. Would you like one?
Oh, most definitely.
Do you remember that time that I don't know if it was you, maybe it was someone else that was learning from the someone else from the intelligence corps in our class, but someone snuck out and they brought back these sucrose sticks and some calf sticks. And one night, we put a blanket over a little fire that we made and actually had real calf.
That was quite a while back.
I was so scared that they'd actually find us, but they never did. Makes me wonder if they would have been watching the entire time.
It's possible our instructors were interesting.
Yes, to say the least. Right. And he winces as the heat touches his lips, although he does drink a few gulps. I'm almost off to go meet with the Lady Sasson to discuss certain oddities about the arrangement with the command structure that she had proposed. How has it been serving alongside aliens?
Different, certainly. Non-standardized.
Do they take away from efficiency at all?
In some ways, yes. In some ways, no. Once they integrate into the role and standardization comes back into place, you see areas that they are weak in and areas that they are strong at. To state the obvious things, alien crew that have more eyes are usually making good spotters rather than humans at times. But of course, training comes down as king.
Right. I was reviewing one of the logs that was sent over, and it seems that the numbers composition makes one wonder if Imperials thus far have been used as meat shields. There are far many more of us than there are of them, especially now with our combined forces.
Indeed, we do outweigh them in numbers and skill.
There's a little pregnant pause.
I feel that my lady does have plans for them, though.
His gaze softens and he nods slowly. Takes another sip.
I wonder if I should consider becoming a cyberneticist, and that way I can have a steel throat and just drink this much more intravenously.
Well, yes. Although the circumstances of getting said throat might be... I wasn't exactly given the choice in the matter. Is either this or he pulls the collar down and there's a rather ragged scar over the cybernetic.
Oh, the command class got an actual cybernetics, did they?
Well, this particular commander did, because apparently I'm important. Who would have thought?
I'd like to hope that that means that they see something positive in you.
Well, likewise in you. Otherwise, neither of us would be here right now.
Especially in these postings, I know that, well, at least the class had a better rate than the last Watcher program, but the of the ones that did make it that weren't, well, dead, got lesser positions.
Yes. Well. I haven't really checked the roster upon the glaive, but I do believe one or two of our fellow classmates were on the other two ships of our detachment that are sadly no longer with us.
A shame.
Quite. Well, I suppose I should let you get back to your work, and do you think you could let me see the specifications of what you're working on, or perhaps for operational security you should keep them to yourself? I imagine they'd be fascinating to walk over.
For the standard rank and file, I will advise of the standardizations that I've done and what small tweaks I've done, but if you are personally curious, I might avail a bit more to you.
Perhaps over another cup of caf.
Sounds delightful.
Might be able to also perhaps substitute caf for something of more nicer taste. I may or may not have been able to swipe something from the late Lady Avila's quarters. Very fine vintage.
Ah, a loaded calf. Interesting. I look forward to it.
It's good to see you agree.
Good to see you too, Pen.
Chugs the rest of his coffee, winces again, shakes his head, and off he goes to get paraded by Sasson.
Oh well.
So.
Yeah, so Gree will spend time, like, basically, like, it at first it comes with a standard kit. She's direct technicians to what looks to be standard things like, yeah, this is a standard sensor thing. I guess I can put the very standard things together. And then when the standard's done, everyone sort of gets shushed away and she makes her own specialized adjustments and amendments and attachments.
Yeah. So I'm just using this. This is not the intelligence department as a note to myself. This is just the photo I have up because it looks techy.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I figured as much as well. It's like, oh, it's time for our command meeting. Why is there so much tech in here? Is not something that
What
oh,
have
right,
you
wrong
done?
room. I'd had everything right, but the room. Oh dear.
Yeah, so
Yes, Grey will be a busy bee and go ahead and replicate that accordingly.
I imagine that Gree would want to tap into the surveillance network of the internal surveillance network of the ship.
Oh, that's a guarantee.
All right. So,
Yes,
as
birds
you're
fly, people breathe, and Grey wants intel on the surveillance network.
as you are checking through the feeds and looking through history,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she'll
is
probably do that while she's just setting up other things as well.
mhm. Off to the side, there is, let's say that to help draw. Say that off to the side over here, there's a console that's reading out a security feed, and
Mm-hmm.
right now it's running through the executive quarters. In this case, it would have been for the resident Sith. This is in the time between the meeting and also later.
Mm-hmm.
Not that Gree would know what has been going on for certain individuals.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
Uh,
she might catch up on other history later, but no time now.
Is she watching as
no, just let me get there. Let me get there. Let me do what I'm gonna do.
We will find out later if Gree is ceiling cat.
Ceiling Gree is disapproving. No, there's a garbled static that utters from one of the speakers that's next to it for listening into the audio. It then resonates into a high-pitched whine for half a second, and then everything cuts out on the sound. You would recognize this as the feed being tampered with.
Okay, yeah, that'll get Gree's attention for better or worse. No one
Okay.
taps it but me.
So this is footage from sometime earlier in the day, maybe a day ago, 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
You probably have to double check the recording on it, but you see the room of what used to be Lady Avalet's room.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing going on. Seems calm. There's no sound though. There was that high pitched whine that's strange in and of itself. And then you see off to the side that there's a shadow of the doors opening.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to try see if you can clean up the feed?
Yep. Sure.
Okay. 3 purple computers.
I have a chance.
So you definitely are able to restore sound.
Mm-hmm.
There's no whine anymore. It's just the regular feed of a camera apparently overlooking the lady's bedchamber in one of the corners. What would you like to use that triumph on?
I would use that triumph on to find more about the sort of sabotage who may have done it.
All right, that's so. Sabotage came. The source of the sabotage comes from a uniformed individual. They are wearing the uniform of one of the Glaive's garrison troopers, so I guess Marines. They had extended their hand over towards a panel out on the outside, so you're seeing the camera out in the hall. This person hadn't shown up anywhere, but then all of a sudden, as you are messing with the feed to try and correct it, they had basically appeared out of nowhere as soon as you fix the feed, and their hand was they had tools from their hand inserted into the wall as they were going inside the room. The recording continues, and I'm going to resize it to make it a little bit smaller. They walk with purpose, checking left, right. They look at the table, and there's a smattering bits of mechanical components, none of which seem to have come from this room. And they sigh as they see their gaze lingers on a ornate filigree of blue and orange that had been stripped off of Avilet's lightsaber.
So this would have been post Avilet's death?
This is post Avilet's death, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Their gaze lingers on the inlay. And then they immediately go over to the side of the bed, and there's a couple of motions. And it's at this point that is they're facing the camera. You notice that their face is still covered. It's not just covered, it's like a visual glitch that's interfering with the sensors of the camera.
That's coming from their covering, or that they've gone to the records to...
It's coming from the person. They haven't gone into the records. Although, if you would like, you can try to clean up their face. Now that is going to be... That is going to actually be a 4 red, 1 purple.
Alright, due to the mightiness of this moment, I will use a light side to give myself an upgrade. And I will simply roll. Oh, right, it's green.
Yeah, why do I even try? No,
But no, that is a hard roll.
The visual glitches are reformed, and with those successes, I'll let you know that this was a result of scanner weave from the armor that this person was wearing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, I remember that from the academy. Yoink! And you immediately cut right through it.
Mm-hmm.
And what's revealed looks like a male face. The one threat is not exactly a threat, but there's something odd about the facial features. It's just slightly off. It doesn't quite match what regular features should on a male human. As the recording goes on further, they kneel down and interact with an intricate series of complex locks, what you might assume on the side of the bed, and then pull out a sliding drawer. And from the camera's perspective, you see a vibro rapier and 2 code cylinders neatly sunk into the bed frame. Their fingers linger along the sides of the unpowered vibro weapon, but then take the code cylinder and stand and begin making their way out of, or they begin pushing this compartment back in, pocketing the code cylinder, markedly unadorned with any particular symbology. Push the cart back in, and then as they stand and are starting to move out of the room, there's one last pass where the camera is at its closest to this person.
Mm-hmm.
Give a full view of their face.
Mm-hmm. You have my attention.
Something... that strange nagging feeling. Would you like to attempt to commit it to memory or examine the image further?
Yes.
Okay. This is going to be another 4 red, 1 purple, but for different reasons on why it's so difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And computers, as you analyze the image.
Okay. And again, this will be the best chance for me to actually find out their identity. I will flip. And I will attempt. Oh my goodness gracious. Look at this shit.
So
That
this
is
is why everyone else in the campaign only gets straight advantage and never any threat.
Yeah, I found it. I found it all. So two of my positive dice said nothing. Slackers.
So with the 5 successes, tell me how Gree goes through the process of analyzing and looking at this image to find out that this is actually a cyborg female human.
I have an idea if you're willing to integrate some of the threat with it. But basically the idea is that she tries several passes at first and things are just not coming her way. Like she's making some progress, but what she needs is time. So what she ends up doing is she ends up sort of writing a program to basically, in essence, almost do the sorting for her to finally get a good, clear, crisp image. But for some of that threat, I'll say that the idea that this will take time to achieve would not be unreasonable.
Yeah. You have the algorithms in place to try and unscramble the weird deformities of whatever disguise method this individual is using.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, as the GM, though, you truly decide on what happens with the threat.
I like that. It's going to take time.
I wouldn't say 6 threat worth of time. But maybe 2 wouldn't be understandable. The rest, though, is up to you to make the call on.
No, using that 6th threat to increase the amount of time to you're not sure when. It's doing that progress bar thing of, I swear it was at 99% an hour ago, but now it's at 98. What?
Ooh, actually, I have a bastardly idea that Trans is going to kill me for. Nope, he's muted, so clearly he doesn't care.
What? No, wait. Let's talk about this.
Sure, Trans, what's your idea?
No. Anything that doesn't involve me getting blamed for something. How's that sound?
No, it won't get you blamed for something.
Okay, then let's hear it.
Okay, but what it would be is that I would say that each threat represents a day that it takes to decipher, so we only find out at the end of the week.
I mean, narratively, that makes a lot of sense. That's really, yeah. That seems cool. I like that game.
Well, the Triumph before.
That's a better question. I'm really good at fucking myself over, not making things go in my favor.
So I will say that there's not much more you can do with the recording, except for as relates to the recording itself and your equipment.
Can you make all the reflective surfaces in here ghost proof? That would be most helpful.
Quiet, you.
Foreshadowing.
My decompiling probably doesn't give me that kind of benefit. Speaking of which, when I do GMing, like, triumphs are going to be very much more centered on the roleplay effect. Unlike shreds where it's like, I shoot a blaster and get free reinforcements. I have a thing about that. Like, when I write the rule, it's going to be much funnier. Like, the idea of, like, when you're shooting the blaster, you don't get to get reinforcements, think of a new idea, or suddenly attend your son's ballet class. These are things that don't come from the triumph. They must be associated with the role.
I shoot upwards to intimidate. It hits a bird and falls on the person I'm intimidating.
I don't know. How about this? I was thinking about this earlier. Excuse me. I would, as Sasson, I would like to have Gree be able to see into this room if she's going to use it for her quarters. That said, I definitely would not like anyone else to be able to tap into that feed. So is there like a triumphy idiosyncrasy about the video hardware feed from the room to the CIC that Gree is constructing that she's like, I think I know how to isolate this so that if anybody ever taps into it, I'll know. Because that would be really useful to not be seen in this room, because then we could have meetings in this room and be nice. Yeah.
I'd like that idea, but I would almost have that more as a destiny point in essence, because that's usually how we lean it towards. And because the triumph is linked more to the I'm sort of decompiling this and whatnot.
Okay.
If Zerg is okay with that. Otherwise, I do like the idea. So I'm willing to give up the triumph to go with Trans's suggestion if you're up for it. Telling that I would be happy to flip a destiny point because it makes sense that Gree would indeed want to isolate Sassion's quarters away from being sighted by other people.
So here's what I'll say. If you want to use the triumph to harden Sassen's quarters and improve the surveillance there, sure. However, if you also want to use a destiny point to say that the general layout of that area would be there's her room, hallway, and then one or two other quarters nearby. That entire section has a tighter surveillance that only Gree is able to tap into for a destiny point. That's also something that could tack off of that.
This is please right now.
But I will say that if you're going to commit to that, your physical equipment and the physical record of this feed is not being affected by the triumph. Here in your nerve center.
Sorry, I'll get you to clarify that because I'm bouncing a few.
Okay, so Gree is watching this from her currently being renovated intelligence department nerve center. The triumph is going to either affect where she is right now in the department, or it's going to affect the feeds and whatnot over the surveillance over in where Sassen's new quarters are going to be. What I'm trying to say is, are you going to protect basically the stuff for the future? Are you future-proofing those rooms, or are you going to make sure that nothing bad happens to department? and the physical equipment that is used to access the rest of the ship.
Considering the Shinkenri we're probably going to encounter throughout this campaign, it would probably make sense to choose which to harden between the equipment that Gree is setting up here in the intelligence room or Sashin's room. It would make sense for the intelligence room. Because I expect robots to try to hack this shit.
Makes sense.
But yeah, no, the Hive Center would be something that Gree would put her focus towards. She'll make a recommendation for Sashin to, like, things to be improved in her room, but like this second, because she's setting up the intelligence room and sensors, it makes sense to use it here and now.
Yeah. You guys can also do installing, just like with that fancy ECM scrambler thing and drifters that we got that also sometimes didn't work.
We can always have conversations in the Grease command center.
That too. The skip.
Oh yeah, so just any conversation with Green, it's like, I immediately make this like five upgrades in my favor difficult for the enemy. Because Codebreaker, yes.
Because layer action.
Oh, no, wait. Code communicate. Actually, that's Codebreaker.
Layer action, Gree.
Yeah.
You cannot call for help. You cannot listen in, but also you cannot call for help. You're in here with me.
It's called the triple.
The worst example of that particular line I've heard is just call me Hurricane Katrina because you can't call for help.
Oh no! Oh no!
Oh.
But yes, wonderfully terrible.
So you are going to protect the equipment for now.
So presently, the triumph will be spent on protecting the equipment. That is the intention of that. And sorry, we mentioned this was actually a female cyborg.
Yes. It's wearing a man's face. Or at least attempting to.
Okay, so that's for the triumph, and so for the destiny point, what was the idea? Sorry.
The
light side I flipped, and you mentioned something about like maybe additional cameras or something.
Maybe laying the groundwork for hardening.
Yeah. For the record, did you want me to sort of write down success like I found this, or do you want that sort of hidden as it were?
So yeah, success. Found out it's a female human cyborg.
I mean, did you want me to type that into the chat?
Sure. Yes, please.
Yeah, I'll obfuscate it slightly in that found out identity.
One second. If we finish the Gree Mini before Dreg gets here, you mind if we watch the last part of the VOD with you, Guns?
Yeah, sure. Like you could see bad Barbie Ken things and see what occurs. You could hear my.
I don't know if I can sit through that. I don't know. I'll let you do it. I don't.
You get the raw spectator commentary from someone who wasn't there also.
Mm-hmm.
So that you finish typing that up.
I always love getting random viewers during these streams. And it's like, you try and figure out what must they
What have
be
I walked
thinking
into?
watching this right now. Yeah. Had a good one just now, though. There's some guy that was starting his own RPG, and he spammed me with a, "Hey there, just want to say I'm enjoying the stream and wish you all the luck.
Oh, there you go.
That's nice.
Fables is a blah 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 blah. Here's my product. Anyways, good luck and have fun." Okay.
Yes.
Maybe list the product bit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
So, Gree, you are confident enough that you have found the initiative on whoever this individual is that has gone into the late Lady Avalet's room, and apparently
In several days' time. Dun dun dun.
several days' time, yes. And this is where I am going to flip a dark side.
Mm-hmm.
And as you're starting to, as you finish up the last touches on the algorithms to parse through the data you've just garnered,
Mm-hmm.
you look away for a second, look back, and now it seems like there's a live feed that's now going on. The scene is that the Lady Assassin is with Jethor.
Oh no!
She
Okay.
is.
Where is this located and what are they doing?
It is. I just forgot that I am the GM that sees everything, but the players don't always see the overlay. So there we go. The Lady Assassin and Jethor are. You are not here anymore. Goodbye. He's just put down a piece of equipment, and she has shown him a piece of armor that you would recognize as having been. Well, it's difficult to not recognize that it is the former Lady Avalet's armor that, due to the fact that it has a gigantic laser or lightsaber
Gash.
slashed to his chest. Yes. And she is beckoning Jethor, for all intents and purposes, to assist her in fitting it. Is this provoking an emotional reaction?
Mild, yes, but otherwise it's more of like.
I guess that she needs him to measure it. I guess that would make sense if they're customizing the old armor into something new.
Then the tone of their interaction is shifting. Jethor, he's maintaining that cool air of professionalism that you would probably characterize him as, just as the same as when he works on Zifix with you.
Yeah, in essence, Gree's doing the same at the moment. Like, looking at it professionally.
It's difficult to not realize that the Lady Assassin's intentions are quickly getting out of hand emotionally.
As in, she looks distressed. Has Jeffo done something to her? Or?
It depends on whether or not Gree is able to discern the.
Describe it a little better than that. She's making moves.
She's making moves on Jethor. She is now.
That is all.
She's beginning to slip off her robe, and the intent of making it easier for the armor to be fitted. However, there's a lack of that Sith poise and seriousness, and instead there's something more of what one might say is a sign of weakness, and a romantic would say a blush. Jethor, of course, is confused and is attempting to just get on with doing something he loves.
No phrasing.
I wasn't going to say anything. Okay, so I see basically Session putting on the moves and Jeffel is being professional about it. Like green nods on both sides of the spectrum in that she admires Jeffel's professionalism and see it as a good standard, much like she holds herself. But she can see the concept of, Lady Session is mortal. They have their own thoughts and feelings, and they're not afraid to pursue them. Test. Okay. Yep. Good.
Yep. You're still there. I'm just
processing.
Thinking for a second.
God damn it, Zerd. This is painful enough. Don't you dare fucking make more shit for me. Suffering.
So
Suffering leads to the dark side.
Oh, God.
Through suffering, I grow stronger. No. So Gree is not phased at all by the going on of Sasson and Jethor in private.
If you're asking how does she feel personally about all that and what are you'd have to lay her intention sort of on reveal those particular cards. Basically it's if there was nothing, if there was no one pursuing Jeffel and they genuinely bonded over time, she could see that happening. But if Lady Sessions basically made the claim, it's I'm not going to fuck with that unless that's a thing. But no.
Okay.
Very nice. That's awesome.
But yeah, my direct superior who is going to probably need stability in their going future, as much as that way she might want that sort of relationship for herself, she understands the idea of okay, if she's seeking stability, I can understand why, and I'm not going to get into the way of that.
All right.
But yeah, she's maybe slightly crestfallen, but she does genuinely understand the sort of all sort of sides of that particular coin. The only thing I guess she'd be concerned about is Jeffel actually okay with that? And she continues to watch the feed to discern that.
All right. So, all that
You
being
should
said,
watch the VOD. You should watch the VOD.
all that being said, you feel it gets to a point during the proceedings that there is something that, with your practice eye and the fact that you are a electronic goddess in what you do with machines, you notice that Lady Sasson tightens for a moment when she looks on the side of a mirror. There's nothing there, but Jethor notices nothing. And their rest of their interaction goes off without any hitches, and agree, this is fine. This is the normal order of things.
I'm gonna have to post in the Discord like the caption of like, agree when watching Jeffro and Sappho in the room. This is fine. with the dog with all the flames about. This is fine.
Aww.
Broken heart.
Like again, as mentioned before, like she is a bit crestfallen for that, but she's seeking to be understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Like again, like those feelings haven't had time to like really boil and manifest. It's just like, okay, I guess that's off bounds. Alrighty then. Or put in Gree to say it in Gree's voice.
Okay, I guess Jeffels are fans, right? That's understandable. Fair enough.
I would say I would only add the flavor that when you watch the VOD, you may glean a little more
nuance that I'm not able to convey.
Context and nuance. But also, I would add that hopefully, in the earlier part of this session, Sasson had intended to make their relationship between her and Gree a great deal more personal and less, well, not less, but just to extend the personal space there, such that narratively out of character, play it however you think that you would want to if you hadn't seen this, because it makes a better story. And you're very doubtful, given your knowledge of what Sasson has said to you over the last 6 weeks or so, that she's not a vengeful person and she's not really possessive like that necessarily. So
yeah, I think Gree's like, in essence, Gree has sort of softened in her disposition of like, I can't wait for the penny to drop, in that she's starting to see that maybe there isn't a penny to drop. Maybe you're just holding a dime on its side the entire time and evaluating the situation around you.
Right.
Like she sees you as like sort of more tactical, and basically the way she's evaluating, in that it is tingling an old Sith doctrine in its own way, but it doesn't matter where you get power from as long as you have power. If you can keep it and hold it, it's yours, and that's worth. So
everyone, that's exactly the vibe I'm trying to give off to everybody. So that's perfect.
But yeah, so that's what Gree is what she feels she's sensing and vibing with, and well, I guess it is technically what you're wishing to put down, so that works out.
Good.
But yeah, do you know what is power? Power is power.
Hey, oh man, we are gonna get along so well.
Yes, we're gonna rewrite history at this point.
First disciple was ready-made.
Like, Gree is very, very like tactical. She understands there are many ways to achieve a single goal.
That's why she's still alive.
Also true.
Right, so let us go back to the situation room, because Gree has a wonderful mind. Well, the intelligence department, and so you've successfully started the process of finding out who a interesting figure who's gone into a deceased Sith's room to retrieve a code cylinder of some sort. That's the beeline straight to it, and is also using high-tech disguises.
To justify it timeline-wise, I'll say that after Gree is done with the whole setting of the room, it's like, yeah, look, that'll be one of the things I'll be informing Lady Sashin of accordingly. But not yet.
Alright.
As opposed to what I would normally do, which is, holy shit, Lady Sashin, what the hell?
So I'll say...
holy shit. Oh, like, it would have been funny, because Live Feed would have been like she's trying to, like, literally slip out of her dress, sudden phone call, Lady Sashin, what is it, Gree? Someone's been in your room. I know that. Wait, you do? Like, there could be a funny misunderstanding with that, but anyway, the starting point is obviously that hasn't happened, so I'm going to say that
I'm prepared.
This will be brought up in a filming session or whatnot.
Hold on.
Or
so
if we've got enough people here. Yeah.
I'm going to say that in addition to that threat taking longer to analyze, I'm going to actually commute some of that to say that all this stuff that's going on with Gree, you lose track of time. You're in here for until basically you were starting to fall asleep.
Yep.
So
almost done. Almost done.
Just need a few more hours. Oh god, I should have really brought the calf machine with me.
Yep, and the chair that you are sitting in seems like the most comfortable thing at the moment.
Gree technically doesn't have a lot of resilience, as opposed to the meme of she has 5 and everything. So like, I am okay if like she does start to drift.
All right.
Like, obviously, I'd like her to obviously finish, but if you feel it's justified that she, like, at the very least, gets to a point of like, actually, this is a safe space to stop. I can pick up the rest later, or it's just okay, good for the moment. I'll close my eyes and.
I'm trying to create a scene where Gree, with the use of the dark side point, she's getting exhausted. Time has gotten away from her, and she didn't realize how much she'd actually accomplished, and now it's getting very difficult to justify leaving her safe space to go back to, let's say, the tier or an actual bunk. And now she's in the department, intel center, by herself.
Yeah, like, if she can, in essence, like, get things at a state where she may not be finished, but things can be put down safely without losing work, she'll quickly wrap that up and then close her eyes, in essence.
All right. So, I don't have a good dream sequence map. I need to correct that. Anyways.
You mean I don't sleep soundly? This is interesting. I'm not a Force user. Why is this my problem? Anyway.
So, it's falling asleep on the chair. One blink. Lights of the Intel Center are still intact. A second blink. You almost want them to dim because you're so tired. It's been a really great day. Third blink. It's a bit darker. A fourth. The walls are gone. A fifth. You're sitting at your desk. Your serial number of your name when you were back in the academy in your class. Another blink. You're back in the classroom. You see all your other students, fellow students. Another blink. You feel yourself asleep, yet you're still seeing this vision. There is a Sith Lord looking over the proctors of your classroom. There's a flash of lightning, and 3 of the other desks across the classroom are gone, replaced by inky blackness. There's another thunderclap, and then more desks are gone. It's almost as if the Sith Lord is pointing his finger, and then souls are disappearing. It happens again and again and again. You recognize Pern towards the big front, and he's shaking, but he's doing his best. His hands are gripped around his own, the metal underside of his table. He seems to have passed the cut, even though everyone around him is now gone. The finger points towards you. The person to your left is now gone. You feel the heat of lightning that you know is able to be unleashed onto a person. It hits you with a wave. But you're fine. Your Gree harkens. You graduated near the top of your class. Then you look up. It's the hooded figure of another Sith Lord. They pull it back. It's Lady Assassin. A baleful gaze looking down at you, making you seem so small. And then two hands, pale and ghostly. You can feel them and see them settle on your shoulders as a face comes next to yours, a mane of red hair flowing in the air as if underwater. And it's the late Lady Avalet, and she whispers into your ear, "What if you're next?" And then sleep truly takes you.
ZZZ.
And that's where we'll pick up with the rest of the group next time the Kibbella affair finally gets back together again.
Yay. All right. Thank you kindly for that session.
Yeah, thanks for making it.
All good. Are we watching Barbie and Ken, are we?
Yes, let's watch Barbie and Ken.
Okay, so let me kill the streaming and
Hey, Treg!
I missed it.
Miss what? The whole session
that-
or
Whatever that was.
whatever just happened?
Whatever just happened.